So, this is going to be the last episode of this series. It's December now, so 5 months after Laax, and I've had quite some time to reflect on everything that happened. Looking back at it now, there are quite a few things that I would change if I would start over again. But to be fair, there are also some things that I think I did right. And in this video, I want to share both of these views with you and discuss what I would change in hindsight. Let's start off with the points that I think I got right. First off, reading the rules and planning tricks and combos accordingly. This sounds like a no-brainer, but reading the rules is quite crucial in my opinion. As an athlete, I have to understand how the format of the comp works, how each round will look like, and how the judges will be scoring. If I invest time into things that the judges won't value with scores, then it's kind of a wasted effort from my side. In this year's format, we could collect some points towards our combo score by doing 2 7-trick combos. If your longest combos were shorter than 7 tricks, you would also get less points. This means that I was able to prepare some 7-trick combos in order to collect these points, while others that might have missed this detail in the rules would also miss out on the extra points. The second point is prioritizing my qualification run. After somewhat recovering from my foot overuse, I knew I had very little training time left and I still hadn't prepared much for the competition. I decided to put almost all of my remaining time into the qualification run in order to have high chances of qualifying, and then basically just trying to make the best out of what I had for the battles. This strategy paid off since I took second place in the qualifications and qualified for the finals. If I had put less work into my qualification run, but more work into my combos for the later rounds, I might have risked not qualifying, and then all the preparation for the battles would have been wasted. Talking about the qualification run brings me to my next point. Going easy on the qualification run. After my initial idea of how my qualification run would look like, which was very unrealistic, I quickly realized that I had to scale it down quite a bit. The downgraded version was a lot easier than I would have liked, but in the end I still fell on 2 of the tricks, indicating that I probably should have still gone a slightly bit easier. I feel like that with the current format for the qualifiers, it's better to go easier than you think you should, but land everything without mistakes, because each mistake will cost you a lot of time and points. The fourth point is staying focused no matter what happens. In a competition setting, there are pretty much always unexpected things happening that might throw you off. In my case, it was in the warm-up of the battle against Davis, where I failed a trick and my feet slipped off the line, which then hit me into my face. That never happened to me before, and I was quite shocked for a second. My nose was quite painful and I wasn't sure if it was broken or not. In case my nose was bleeding, I was already imagining myself walking out to the anchor, sticking a piece of tissue into my nose and coming back for the battle. I checked my nose and it wasn't bleeding, so I was all good and continued my warm-up almost fully focused, apart from the blurred vision that I had due to my watering eyes from the pain. As soon as the battle started, I had already pushed all of this out of my mind and I was able to focus on the battle 100%. Alright, so these were some points that I think I did right in my specific situation. Now let's look at the things that I would change if I had to start over again. The first and most important point to me is that overtraining doesn't work. In the last couple of years, I repeatedly experienced that whenever I pushed too hard for a prolonged period of time, I'd have quite significant setbacks where I had to reduce my line time by a lot. This has been the biggest factor preventing me from training more, and it's led to many months of pain and frustration. In the case of my preparation for Laax, I was going too hard on both my strength trainings and my highland sessions, which taken together was just way too much for my body to handle. The result of that was a foot overuse injury, which significantly restricted my line time and thus my preparation for Laax. The next 2 points will illustrate the changes that I'd make in hindsight in order to avoid overtraining. The next point is changing the structure of my strength training. During my preparation, the workout structure that I was following was a 3-day per week full body routine that included 5 main exercises done for 4 sets each, along with some accessory exercises. Over the course of a week, this adds up to 60 sets of high intensity exercise. I think that by itself is already way too much, but adding it on top of the highland sessions is obviously not a great idea. Since Laax, I adopted a new strength training structure, which is a 4-day per week upper body lower body split routine, which only uses one main exercise per training day, done for 5 sets. Over the course of a week, this adds up to 20 sets of high intensity exercise, which is 1/3 of what I was doing previously. And I feel much stronger and way more recovered. I'm definitely going to keep doing my current program until I see a reason to change it. If you want to know more about my current strength training program, check out the link in the description. My third point is get some structure for my highline sessions. Apart from tracking my progress on tricks and combos that I had planned, I've never had a weekly structure for approaching them, which always led to me doing too much of too few things without much variation. I'm sure this didn't help my body recover faster. Currently, I'm taking some inspiration from my new strength training structure that I've just touched on, which has a different focus for each training day within a week. So I define 4 types of sessions with a different focus and just rotate through these on a weekly basis. As an example, the 4 days could look something like this. Day 1, expo tricks like Yoda rolls and almighties. Day 2, tricks from Nevermind. Day 3, orbitals. Day 4, rocket tricks. The goal of this structure is to mix it up throughout the week and thus avoid overtraining, while at the same time repeating the tricks that I've chosen to focus on a weekly basis to actually make some progress. The final point I want to touch on is my approach to goal setting. In the past, as well as for Laax this year, I've always taken the same approach to goal setting. I would think of some wild tricks and combos and try to work towards them. Without exception, I would at some point realize that it was unrealistic to achieve those goals that I've set, and I would start to downgrade everything. Mostly I did manage to prepare tricks and combos for the competitions, but they were almost never what I had in mind originally. While I don't think that this approach is generally bad, I do think that it carries an increased risk of injury, since it's tempting to push hard for a prolonged period of time. So for future comps, I would like to try the opposite, where I'd start off with something that I know I can land easily and then upgrade it on the way. There are pros and cons for both approaches, but since I've never struggled to motivate myself to throw harder tricks, but just being injured all the time, I think that the unambitious approach is better suited for me, at least in my current situation. Alright, now there was quite a lot of input from my side, so I'll quickly summarize all the points that I've touched on. Remember that all of these points only apply to my specific situation. So if you want to copy things that I'm sharing here, please think about how it actually applies to your situation. So for the things that I think I got right, we have reading the rules and planning tricks and combos accordingly, prioritizing my qualification run after realizing that I had very little training time left, going easy on the qualification run, at least with the current format, and staying focused no matter what happens. And for the things that I would change in hindsight, we have overtraining doesn't work, changing the structure of my strength trainings to avoid overtraining, actually get a structure for my highline sessions, again to avoid overtraining, and the overambitious approach to goal setting, which in my point of view carries an increased risk of injury. So I'd like to try the unambitious approach to goal setting in the future and see if it works better for me. I really hope you learned something from this episode. If you haven't watched the whole series yet, go ahead and do so to find out more about my preparation for Laax this year. Keep training and stay safe.